The broadcast is live. All right.
So here we are. Usually, I talk about the rainy Sundays. We're about to have a rainy Friday here, and I don't know what's going on over there with Paulo. So we'll just let everybody know that Paulo's here, and he's having some internet issues. So he's our friend, so we're sticking by him. All right.
Well, we were discussing internet Google conspiracies, so I will be all on Google. Because they want to take over.
You know what's going on is they know you're talking, Paulo. They know you're talking. Yeah. So they're watching right now.
Like it was funny.
And now the internet is not working.
All the technical problems I had last week was just with Paulo, too. That's what was so strange. Having to switch.
There we go. I don't feel so claustrophobic here. So first thing I'm going to show off here is over the last 2 weeks, I have gotten stuff and bought stuff. And then you reach that point where you pass something up and a year later it's back. Plus it's on 50% sale. And this is made to go over your door frame, I guess, to take up that little space. Like they're smart. They're marketing to where like, how can we get every little bit of space in your house to make you buy something? So I ended up buying this glorious Marvel.
Okay.
It just goes on and on and on with different artists. And what made me buy it is that it has, that dude there. Why am I going blank on his name? He's the only character. Yes, thank you. His name is even listed underneath it. It tells his name underneath it. But
Zola.
I had
to put his brain in his chest because it would be more protected there. That is always I just always loved that.
Yeah, and from what I remember, I would study the official handbook of the Marvel Universe when I was like 10, 11, and 12, both editions and stuff. And I was like, he's got a projector where his head should be. And how does it project down on his chest? I'm like, So I just had to get that. And it was 50% off. And as soon as I got it in the car, I'm like, what did I just do? What did I just do? Well, we got people already popping in. Mind the comments. Good to see you. And we got Rob Ripa. Yes. So we'll give some other people time to get in here.
There we go. I'll hit reply. I just sent it out on Twitter to Terrence, who was asking. There, now we know. Oh, yeah. I actually have my sister just sent me some photos of the Ollies near her.
You need to
because she's about an hour north of me, and there's an Ollie's in Orange County, New York. And I was like, if you stop by there sometime, see if they got a comic section. She was like, they have a big comic section.
They do, yes.
I was like, cool.
Yeah, and I have some live streams. I mean, I just go ahead and just do the live streams when I get them instead of doing video. But I'm making room over here. But yeah, Ollie's is the place to go because they're getting trucks in at least twice a month, and you got to hit them. And what I found out with this Ollie's is that some of the really good stuff that comes in, their manager collects comics. So they'll get 2 or 3 little omnibuses or something there, and he grabs them and he picks the best ones and stuff out, when it comes out of their house.
Ain't that always the way? That someone's always got an
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, that's probably why my Ollie's up the road seems to get this stuff. I don't know if the managers get to say, hey, here's what we need. So I'm going to talk. I already talked to him. That's how I found out. He bought that Avengers Vault book, that 12 pounds of Glorious Avengers or something that I haven't opened yet. That thing goes for $200 online, and I got it for something like $35,
Right.
That's expensive for me, man. I don't spend that much money,
Yeah,
but I was like, when he's sitting there holding his that he just bought, and there's one left, that's good salesmanship,
I've actually spent that much on books, but not on a comic. In terms of those artist editions.
Yeah,
I spent $125 on an artist edition, but I've never spent more than like $20 on an actual physical comic book.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, probably about the last year, year and a half, when it comes to actually getting new books. Like really, the only two books that I've pre-ordered regularly is that Maestro by Peter David and Dale Keown. That's a throwback to the '90s, if you will.
Right.
The Future Imperfect for the Hulk. And then the last Ronin that's coming out. And I just found out that's a leftover storyline from the 80s that Eastman and Laird never followed up on.
That's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one.
Yeah.
I actually ordered the first issue of that. I'm not a Turtles fan. I've never read much Turtles, but I was kind of interested in that. And it's like oversized too. I think it's around the size of the original Turtle issues.
Okay, that's good.
I've looked 48 pages. So I was like, you know what? I want to see that. It just got me curious, so I put it on my pull list. At least the first.
I may end up with two of them because anytime there's something oversized like those DC, I'm totally blank here. The DC, Superman Year One Black Label issues.
Oh, okay.
They don't pack them well, so I'll send them pictures of my damaged books, and they just send me new ones. I mean, I may end up with another reader's copy, but I'm pretty pumped about it. I feel like it's going to be good. But when they were doing the San Diego Comic-Con online on YouTube, which was kind of weird, I watched the one with Eastman. Is he the one that still owns all the Turtle stuff? He bought the other guy.
I don't even remember.
Why? Well, I watched his a little bit because I wanted to see if he was going to talk about the last Ronin. And what was so funny is that I think it was his wife or girlfriend or something was on him, and she about like shit because he said he named the artist and said the artist had already dropped out. It's going to have a new artist.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and he acted like that. They acted like this was a big deal. So I'm thinking contracts or something. But I learned if you watch that, you found out a scoop way before that it wasn't going to have the same artist through it. Then it became late, and then everybody acted like they had the scoop afterwards.
I read that in like Comic Shop News a few weeks ago. That's what brought it to my attention. But I think they're doing the New York Comic Con online this weekend.
Yeah. Well, there's some comic book convention in Orange County, California. I think it's still going on. Right before I got on here, I got an alert. I had Mike Zeck on Facebook, and he had a picture of him, John Beatty, and Jim Shooter announcing they would be there. So I don't know. I didn't click on it to see what was going on. So maybe things are kind of getting back to normal a little bit, slowly but surely, But that's the reason I'm buying some of this odd stuff. My budget that I have on the side there, it's not, there's a month or two where it doesn't get touched. I went to one comic book convention the whole summer, and I think I ended up spending something like $40. What did I say? I spent $100 even, and that's been it the whole year. Yeah,
one of the reasons I ordered that Turtles thing, besides I was curious about it, was I don't think I had anything on my pull list for that week, or maybe one comic. I'm like, I can put it on then, even though it's like an $8 book, but it's double sized. And the fact that it was bigger than a normal comic actually made me go, all right, I want to see it now.
Right. Now, is it me or is like Paulo's internet working and now he's not talking?
I'm not talking. The thing about the Orange County Comic-Con made me think if it's not a good idea now to go back to smaller, more focused comic conventions instead of doing the big ones like New York and San Diego, because this virtual convention thing, it really doesn't work. It's kind of stupid. I've tried seeing some of the panels when they do it specifically for YouTube. It kind of looks just like a regular YouTube channel.
Yeah, and that's what it looked like. It looked like exactly what we're doing here. And what was so funny is we're ahead of the curve. Us and others and the regular YouTubers, and all that stuff. We've done this and we're comfortable and we're not sitting there kind of, I don't know, having that little bit of awkwardness for it and stuff. We got one up on the pros, and I think that's kind of hilarious. We already know all the good YouTube channels to watch. So when they put theirs on, it's like, that's
During the summer, the guys who do the Comic Core show, they did a virtual convention of their own, and it was actually pretty good because since they knew what they wanted, they went specifically for the stuff that they liked, the guys that they wanted to talk to, and even if it was something that people that you were not familiar with, just the personal touch makes you want to watch it.
Yeah, is Comic Core the one that's got Modern Men on Mondays or something like that?
Yeah. The ones, yeah, with Carson Woodard and
I've done 2 or 3 shows with them,
yeah.
and I did the Crisis, and I don't know what I did months ago. Good guys, really good guys. There's a real sense of community, and it's just really kind of cool because if somebody's been there, collecting comics since the '90s, it shows. If they just started, they say they just started. You know what I'm saying? There's a I like that. I'm like where somebody's just like, hey man, I've been reading this and this is really thick and it's dated. I'm like, so.
But, I sometimes find it weird when there are guys say, "Oh, I started collecting comics 2 or 3 years ago, and they're already going for variant covers and CGC." And I mean, what did you read that makes you want to buy whatever it is that you're buying?
They're not interested in reading; they're interested in collecting.
You're actually kind of, Paulo actually kind of started. That's a good segue to what I was kind of wanting to mention with the COVID stuff and the comic book conventions, not being what they are, and a lot of stuff going on in the books and stuff. It's kind of good in a way, in my opinion, because it sort of strips down a lot of the hobby and the things around it, so that the people who stick around are really the ones that love comics and not the barnacles of people who show up at the comic book conventions wanting to push a movie, you know what I mean? Or, it kind of purifies it a little bit. And I know that sounds bad in a way, but in another way, you got to strip it so it can build back up and it's going to last longer. You get what I'm saying? There's going to be people who wish they'd gone to a comic book convention when they had the chance. And now that they think they may not come back, I think people are going to rush to it when these things get rolling again.
So here's something interesting about comic book fans that I remember from the 90s that shocked everyone. I think it was because we tend to think of comic book fans as people like us, going on the modern October for a long Halloween show. Okay, we tend to think of comic book fans as people like us, and that just tends to be the general idea. Someone who's a comic book fan is someone who goes and buys comic books on a semi-regular basis, at least. I remember I don't remember who paid for it in the 90s, but it may have been Marvel, it may have been someone, but they tried to find out what the average comic book fan was, and this was in the 90s when comics were hot even. And they found out the average comic book fan was somebody who bought comics 2 or 3 times a year and only for 2 or 3 years. And everybody was kind of like shocked.
I am not surprised.
Because we tend to think of comic book fans, because like everybody we talk to and everybody we know has been reading comics for a while. They're either lapsed comic book fans or they go and get stuff regularly. But most comic book fans only buy comic books very briefly. And it's just like, wow.
No, I agree that completely, because actually the comic book, a regular comic book fan is somebody who goes to the store and buys their books, takes them home and reads them.
Yep.
But they only end up getting together, and we're specialized. We're experts.
They don't do that every week or every month. They do that 3 times a year. And just buy some comics. That's what's so the majority of comic book fans were casual like that, not guys who had a pull list and got every issue or bought every trade even.
Well, even by the 90s, I'm not sure if 2 or 3 times a year was not enough.
2 or 3
Although
times.
I imagine
go ahead.
Yeah, imagine that once a month, maybe they miss a month and go back to the next one. 2 or 3 times is not enough.
It's a remarkably few times they go and buy comics a year.
See,
in Europe, we can do that.
Yeah, I think you got to look at it like music, because I've talked about different kinds of fans over the years, and some of those string of thought videos I've done over the years and stuff. I think about people I've met and talked to and stuff, going back to the 80s and stuff when I started meeting other people that got comics, But it's like music, okay? First of all, you got you can just say who buys music, right? That's too simple because you break it down, you can actually chart it. You got people like heavy metal, you got people just like classical, and they forget that some of these people cross over, that some people like are eclectic and they like other music. Yeah. And that's why you can't say average comic book fan, in my opinion, because it's like music. No, you have people who are fans of this, just like Marvel. Yeah.
I'm saying average comic book fan only because more than 50% of comic book fans bought their comic books like that when they did this study. That's what I mean by average.
Gotcha. And that's what I'm saying. Yeah, and I'm not dismissing that. I'm saying that's that kind of comic book person. Somebody walks in, kind of checks it out, gets a little itch. Yeah.
It was shocking to everybody that that's how more comic book fans than not bought their comic books.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember everybody was just like, what?
Yeah, because in the 90s, you couldn't read a comic and then come and be satisfied and come back 8 months later and read it and understand it. You couldn't. In the 80s, you could.
Yeah, well, the other thing is we don't know what they were buying. Maybe they were waiting for a trade. Maybe they were just trade buyers. Maybe they bought comics a decade before that. They bought them more as a kid. Yeah. I mean, they needed to. I'm one of those people that I have to. It's the social worker in me. I want to know. Give me the study.
Yeah. Like I said, this was in the 90s. They actually paid for this. I can't remember who paid for the study.
Yeah.
And who knows where it exists today. But I just remember everybody being shocked by it because, no one really had any idea that that's how the majority of comics fans bought their comics. Because like I said, even everybody in the comic industry assumed probably at least the majority of X-Men fan would buy the X-Men every month, wouldn't they? It was selling a lot of copies.
Well, the other thing is when they did the study, this was probably the tail end of comic books being in grocery stores and spinner racks and in a Magic Mart or some local, something like that. The casual fan may have just walked by a spinner rack. I mean, there's so many things you could break it down with, but I wonder what the study would say now.
I have heard of no such study since then, too. Not even, so it's like who even knows why they paid for it in the first place? I can't even remember who paid for it. If Marvel paid for it or if they got it from somewhere or what.
I would like to know how they did the study because you got to remember this is the 90s. And in the 90s, this New York paper called somebody in Seattle, some little company or something, and asked about the grunge culture. And they trolled them and made up all these cool words and they printed them. You know what I mean?
I imagine if you hire a professional company who does a study, they know what they're doing, but who knows?
Yeah. But over the years, one of the things that fascinated me about, probably with the hobby, but I didn't realize, I just know I would get excited a little bit and have to play it cool when I would talk to, meet somebody new. But the two people, the two niches of collecting that always blew my mind because I'm like, how do these people do this? People who only collected Supergirl comics, they're out there, and people who only collected, I don't want to put them together, but they got Headlight comics and Bondage comics, and that's where I started looking at Lois Lane covers completely different. I was like, the Spread Eagle comics is what I ended up calling them.
I think some people, because I see it on YouTube all the time, I think some people now collect those just because they exist.
Well, the people collect the hardcover.
Yeah. But if like someone sees like a random Wonder Woman Bondage comic for $3, they'll pick it up and put it in their one. Because I see like, Bondage cover here, Bondage cover, like people on YouTube showing them. But it's become such a category. It's like, I don't even think they care about bondage. They're not like bondage enthusiasts, like,
right. It's a
Wonder Woman creator was. What's his name? I can't remember the Wonder Woman creator's name. William
Marston.
Marston. There we go.
Like he was an actual right now. I'm embarrassed.
he was actually into bondage.
Yeah.
And there were people who were actually into bondage who collected those covers. Now I think it's just comic book collectors who it's just another category.
It is. It's another way of collecting. It's the trading card. syndrome, as I call
it.
it.
The trading card mentality when they're collecting cards.
You're buying 8x11 trading cards for the covers and stuff. But
that's the reason. That's the reason why they're never going to do a hardcover volume featuring a complete run of Lois Lane or a complete run of Jimmy Olsen. Those comics are in demand because of their covers, not because the stories are good. Nobody wants to read Silver Age and Early Bronze Age, Jimmy Olsen or Lois Lane. It's those freaky covers.
Yeah, comicboards.com and some other message board in the early 2000s I was on. It amazed me not only that there were people who collected covers with sharks on them. It amazed me how many they had and how many they found because they posted the pictures. And this is the thing that I loved about the hobby, man. There's just something for everybody. You know what I mean? That's why I was like, man, this is going to last forever. You know, like, you know,
I gotta show you the cover collections of the guys who are into foreign editions. They can go up to 20 countries with variations of the same cover. They just have different prices and different languages in it. And then there are the guys, they want the cover, even if the comic inside is not what the cover is portraying, because foreign editors will do that. And there are guys who want all the appearances of that issue. So even if the cover is something else, and others don't, they gotta have the cover. Like for example, I was thinking earlier today, if you want the Brazilian edition of New Mutants #1, the cover on it is Captain America meets Captain Britain, because New Mutants started as a backup in Captain America.
Got it. Well,
so it's up to you. Do you want the cover, or do you want to know that the comic is inside? Because of course they can't read Bahasa Indonesian, they can't read Lithuanian. They just want to have the comics.
See, I can tell I missed you guys because you said that, and I'm trying to stay on topic with you guys, but you just said that, and I'm sitting here, the guy who's still blown away. About 4 years ago, it broke that in Mexico, I guess it was Mexico, that the Spider-Man comics have been on a different track because they never killed Gwen Stacy. So they kept the Spider-Man comics to where Gwen is alive, and I've always wanted those collected in America. Like what? You know,
Paolo just wants all the covers.
Yep.
Those covers are great. They really are.
All right.
Yeah, there's some of the ones I saw.
What I have here is, I'm not even sure what the group is on Facebook, but it's run by Jack Kirby's grandson. So it's Jack Kirby, right? And he's come up with these prints and care packages. A lot of them are on sale and range from $100 to $200. So they came out with one where you get it for $8, sort of like a little incentive. Now, #1, I was very careful with the envelope because I knew the envelope itself was going to be cool. You know, it's curved, you know, all that stuff. So I was getting the glue gun, the hot gun, and a razor blade. Yeah. And this was $8 I bought on a whim off of Facebook. I just dropped one of the magnets, right? And what they do is they thank DC because DC allows them to keep the prints. This one came with a little book, and you open it up. It's some Kirby art. It tells you where it's from. And then you get inside, and it has like little bits of his collages. How that he he cut all this stuff out of. I'm gonna put it on me for a minute here. Sorry, how do I do that? It's been a while.
I know.
So see, Kirby's room is always his drawing room. People always talk about he had bookshelves all around the room with his sci-fi magazines and stuff. He was a fan. So. Yeah, get on Facebook, find the Jack Kirby group that his grandson runs. He's probably on Twitter too, and you can order these pictures of the Kirby man.
I bought a T-shirt from him once, a Jack Kirby T-shirt.
I think I got like a little decal here. The magnet's in the floor, and this broke my heart. I wasn't ready for this, but Joe Sinnott drew a picture of the thing crying, saying there'll never be another Jack, and they took his picture and they put there'll never be another Joe, and I'm like, oh. I wasn't ready for that because I met Joe. He was a sweet guy. He was sitting with Nick Cardy, and I missed my opportunity. Wow. Yeah, I missed my opportunity. I accidentally sort of blew Nick Cardy off, because it was probably the first time I'd ever been starstruck at a comic book convention when I met Joe Sinnott. I thought that was going to happen. And he's like, "This is the great Nick Cardy." I'm like, "Yeah, nice to meet you, Nick." No. I'm like, yeah. Believe me, I've had 19 years to make peace with it, So yeah.
By the way, if you ever want to remove glue from an envelope or anything else, this stuff right here is what you need. I have a video on it somewhere on my Bestine rubber cement thinner. This will take tape off your comic or glue off anything without wrecking it. So that's what you want.
Here's the magnets that I'm going to be putting on my refrigerator.
Ah, cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just something cool. I mean, there's stuff out there if you dig a little bit.
Yeah. I'm going to close my blinds because it's dark out now.
All right. You want to see who's here? Let's do let's look at the usual suspects who, the riffraff that shows up with us with the other riffraff,
Tat's here. Sleepy Reader's here.
Rob
Mr.
Rippin,
Gretzky's here.
Victor Thomas. Is Sleepy Reader here?
Yeah.
Good to see you, Tat. Glad you made it, Tat. That's awesome. Gretzky, Tat. John's here. And, Sleepy Reader's here. Got it. Nice. So,
Comic Crack is outside doing yard work, so he might be listening to us.
Nice. I don't know if you go to Walmart, but they got these another edition. I used to have a huge set of a little Batmobile collection, Johnny Lightning Batmobiles, Hot Wheels. I mean, I was so happy when they started putting them out that I had like these random toys that may or may not have been licensed across the years. You know what I mean? Yeah. I sold them all over the years. Divorce is hard when you do it. So I'm sitting there and I passed this up 3 or 4 times, but this is a $7 Hot Wheels Batman of the 66 edition, and to me, that is the Batmobile. This is the Batmobile. I love it. They're all good. They're all cool, but
I wonder how many different Batmobile toys have been made. It's got to be thousands, right?
Maybe we're hitting close to 1,000.
It's got to be somewhere around there because there've been a lot made.
Well, just
want to see what comics I got this week?
Yeah.
We'll show you. This is Bang number 4, which I think is supposed to be a 5-issue series, and I have no idea how they're going to wrap it up. They've just assembled the team in this issue. I'm like, how is this going to be a 5-issue series?
What number is it on?
4.
Okay.
4. This is number 4. It's supposed to be a 5-issue series. And it's like it's one of these that I enjoy when I'm reading it, but there's not a ton to talk about because they've just been assembling the team for 4 issues. It's one of these they're sort of there's a James Bond archetype. There's like a Miss Marple archetype. They got these sort of literary archetypes they're using that has something to do with something that they're doing, and I'm enjoying it, but it's kind of popcorn. It's light and fluffy.
It sounds like it's just an origin issue. I'm trying to think of a movie I watched where I'm like, this was an origin movie. They didn't tell you that. And they never made another one,
There's more stuff in it than origin, but it's mostly gathering the team because you get each issue introduces you to another team member, and the team member is on their own little adventure.
You think the guy's just trying to get something published so that he can get a TV deal?
No, I don't think that this one doesn't really. I don't know, but it's hard to tell these days. Matter of fact, I'm gonna have to show you something about that later on. Then I got Lock and Key. What is the name of this one?
Is it the Sandman?
Go. Same team. Joe Hill and Gabrielle Rodriguez. I think they've been doing little mini series. This is the first time I bought Lock and Key in comic book form.
Yeah.
I bought it in hardcovers and collected edition, Pale Battalions. Yeah. And I think there's only 3 issues. It's like speaking, it was short, whatever it was. I can't remember. This is issue 2, but it takes place in World War I. And it's like the people who lived in the lock house in World War I getting into trouble with the keys.
Well, you do know they're coming out with the Sandman crossover real soon. Like they've sort of put out a incentive book to kind of wet your whistle a little bit. If there was ever, I think that's genius. If there was ever a book that could cross over from another company with Sandman, Lock and Key makes perfect sense. I mean, it really.
Yeah,
you never. It's just like it's so obvious. You never thought of it, but when they said
they
it, you're
just
like,
make a key that does it.
yeah, you're like, yeah, that'll work. That'll work. You know, and I hope it's not like what they did with the Golden Age Sandman, where when he meets Morpheus, it's like for 2 pages out of a 48 page book. You know,
right. Sleepy Reader said he was just starting to read this week's Bang, and there's a new colorist. You know, Sleepy Reader notices the colorists a lot more than I do sometimes. Like to me, the colorist on Bang has been kind of generic. There's been nothing to make me notice the color or not notice the color. But Sleepy Reader always notices the color.
The only 2 colorists I've ever noticed that made me want to look at a colorist, and hey, man, they're important. I mean, I totally get it.
Oh, yeah.
Respect. But Christine Skill, I hope that's the name.
Sheila?
She was on the Avengers when Roger Stern, Buscema, and Palmer were on it in the 80s. And Steve Olaf.
Scheele, right? I think Sheila is how I've heard it said. I don't.
Oh, that's cool. Nobody's ever said it around me.
I've never met her. Yeah,
I thought she was excellent on Tom Palmer's inks and stuff. And then Steve Olaf. Steve Olaf has been around forever, and he's on everything. You know.
Yeah.
If you really start.
Was he the one who pioneered a computer color on Akira? Was that Steve Olaf? There was.
Yeah.
There's 2 Olafs, right?
I just know one.
Pat Olaf was the guy who drew Untold Tales of Spider-Man for Kurt Busiek back in the 90s.
Oh, you're thinking of Gensler. Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Steve Olaf.
Yeah, Steve Olaf at a digital coloring brand. What was it called?
I don't know, but I remember the little green man that was his mascot in the 90s for his advertisements in the back of these books. You know,
yeah, he pioneered digital coloring with Akira.
Yeah, yeah. But if there's ever a colorist that deserved a gallery book, that's the man. You know.
Then we got the latest issue of Adler. Who's Irene Adler from the Sherlock Holmes story. This is like the League of Extraordinary Gentlewomen. And I've been enjoying this series, but I found this issue very choppy. I don't know if it was the script or the storytelling. I'm going to have to read it a second time. But I don't know. I didn't find the other issues as choppy as this one. Just reading it. I don't know what it was.
Maybe he's just trying to wrap it up. While you're looking at that, let's thank Mr. Gretzky there for the tip jar. Great show, guys, man. Thank you. Appreciate that, man.
Could just be that there's so few word balloons. That's kind of why it read choppy. There's not a lot of word balloons in this. I don't know what it was, but it read differently than the other issues.
Right.
When they changed location, was it easy to follow?
Yeah, it wasn't hard to follow. They were kind of in one location, so that wasn't. And I think they even gave us a caption when they changed times. Except they did it halfway down the page. Let me see. Was that in this one or some other one? I can't remember.
I got you. This is what's cool about comic book guys who've been in comics for a while. They totally get the importance of a colorist there. You know, I mean, they just don't know they're important. They're just sort of like they can make or break, man. You know. To me, a colorist is like an army cook. Nobody says anything about the cook until he messes up. You know,
colorists have taken over a lot of the function that inkers used to do.
Yeah, but I don't think they should. I don't think they should have happened. But nowadays,
you and Sleepy must get the same books, man.
Yeah, he does. He gets Adler, and maybe you won't find it choppy. I don't know, because sometimes when I do find something like that, I'm like, is this me? And sometimes I reread it a second time. I'm like, oh, I just must have been in a mood that other time because it's not choppy when I reread it.
The guys putting in my installation are at the door, man. I'll be right back. Sorry.
Okay. This is Norse mythology. Neil Gaiman and Craig Russell. This is Craig Russell adapting a Neil Gaiman book. So I don't think Neil Gaiman is actually scripting this.
I'm actually interested in that one. And the art inside is pretty good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's good. It's got some Craig Russell. It's got some Mike Mignola. And it's got some Steve Ordway in it.
You know, P. Craig Russell is that artist that I absolutely love, and I have nothing by him.
Yeah, that's because they don't. I have got just about. I've got tons of stuff he's done, but it's all in individual issues. It's like they haven't collected his stuff and put it out overseas. So I imagine it's hard for you to find.
I actually think I have a Brazilian Elric when they did some stuff from First Comics. Don't remember if it's Abril or Globo, but I think I do have one of his Elric series. And there was that. Do you remember when he inked Gil Kane on an adaptation of the Jungle Book inside Marvel Fanfare? Yeah,
right.
the Brazilians published the first part of that, but they didn't publish the rest. But I remember that thing very well, and I absolutely loved the art. I'm not sure if it was the first time that I saw Gil Kane, but Kane and Russell together is just amazing.
I think some of that is in Craig Russell's artist edition. I think I made a video of it. I borrowed someone's copy, and I can't remember whose it was, my friend Ed or my friend Bob. And I think there was some Jungle Book in there too. Like I said, I don't have it myself, but it's like all of Craig Russell's opera stuff all came out in like 1-issue and 2-issue forms, and I don't know if that was ever published and collected anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think it was, but I do know that Marvel put out a collection of that Jungle Book adaptation about 10 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
Shortly after Kane died.
The Ring of the Nibelung, Pope I mentioned that. Let me just walk over here for a second and see.
Ring of the Nibelung is one that I missed out on a trade when it came out, and I shouldn't have.
This is my Craig Russell section.
Pretty good.
The Magic Flute.
Oh,
we got the Magic Flute. 1, 2, my reading glasses. They're over here. So it's like, who put this out? I don't even. Where's the publisher? Let me.
Might have been self-published.
So there's this. I mean, they could. Eclipse put this out in. Let me see the year. 1990. So it's like, I don't know if this has ever been. Oh, look, those got cloudy 1990 bags. I'm gonna have to change these. So we got the Magic Flute, also from Eclipse. It's a one-shot. Night Music. This is just some of his adaptations of opera stuff. Here's Salome. Once again, 1 issue.
Yeah, some of that stuff is reprinted from the that 70s magazine, the Star Reach. He published some stuff in Star Reach.
New too in the 80s. The Godfather's Code, 1 of 1. What is, I don't even. NBM put this one out. Peleus and Melisande, or however you say that opera. And there's, once again, this is from Eclipse. It's 2 issues. So it's like this. None of this stuff I don't think was collected. Yeah. Rudyard Kipling's Red Dog, 1 issue. And here's the Ring of the Nibelung. This is Dark Horse. This was probably collected, the Rheingold. And there's
it was collected twice, and one was still in the early 90s, and the other one was like in 2010 or something. And I don't know how I missed that in the previous catalog.
Right, 4 issues there. Here's, all of a sudden we get Valkyrie, a 3-issue series. 2 of 3, 1. Yeah, all of a sudden there's like a 3. So it's like, I don't know if how much this stuff has ever been collected, because there's not. I didn't even realize there were so many series. Another 3-issue series.
The thing is, how are you going to market a collection of that material? I mean,
exactly.
Craig Russell's opera. That even old readers who are familiar with P. Craig Russell are going to look at it and say, "What's this opera stuff?"
Yeah. Now, so it's like that's why you don't have a lot of Craig Russell, is because this is
they've adapted an opera before. It was Gil Kane and Roy Thomas, and it was the Rings of something or other. I don't know.
The Ring of the That's what this is. That's
okay.
That's what this is in the back. This is Wagner's Ring of the Nibelung.
Ring of the Nibelung. I can sell all those other adaptations and the other one with the other Rudyard Kipling book. if I was in charge of doing a P. Craig Russell collection, I have no idea how I was going to market that.
Yeah, that's why you can't get them.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys. I do have a P. Chris activities thanks to Facebook. Would you like to hear his update for today?
Mm-hmm.
Just to throw a segue. He finally went out to eat in public for the first time since March, just to be able to have a yellow jacket go up his shorts and sting him twice. So everybody in the restaurant got dinner and a show.
The Magic Flute is a Mozart opera. So, maybe they get some Mozart in there to sell it. I don't know.
It's a whole new genre with a niche group. This is going to replace the bondage covers.
I'm such a Craig Russell fan. I've always bought these whenever they came out. But how do you put them in a trade and sell them?
He's somebody that when I met at Baltimore Comic Con, I was so glad he was a nice guy. I was like, you're exactly how I pictured you, man. So yeah.
And Craig Russell, he was always an artist. I can remember who I suspected was gay, only because his guys were so pretty. I'm like, he drew the prettiest men in all of comics.
Killraven, the graphic novel, I thought the same thing. And I was like, and dude, I mean, by the time I got that, I think I was like in 9th grade, just kind of becoming aware of the culture, if you will. You know what I mean? I had some friends who we knew, and we wondered if they knew, But yeah, I got you. Yeah, I've kind of wondered.
For me, it was the epic illustrated story he did. Beauty Without the Beloved is like a sword through the heart. It's one he drew in pencil, and it's beautiful. And I think it actually may even be a Ring of the Nibelung story with the young guy whose name all of a sudden I can't remember, Siegfried. And he is just the prettiest guy you've ever seen.
Well, I'm just saying, yeah. But the technical stuff that P. Craig Russell will talk, I saw some interviews. I don't know if they're on YouTube, but he posted them to his Facebook channel earlier in the year. And he did this piece where he explained how he made the piece look like it was from the 1920s. He said the 1920s, they had low horizon lines and they had this and that. And he can tell you the dynamics of how to make a piece look like it's from a different period. I was just fascinated. You know what I mean? Like, even if you weren't into comics and you weren't into art, you would just watch the guy and be like, one of those things like you see on PBS, you're just sucked into all of a sudden, I mean, it was just fascinating hearing him talk.
Corby Dow tells us that Russell drew a Doctor Strange Annual #1. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Oh, I don't know.
1976.
I just realized I have a Doctor Strange graphic novel he did here somewhere on one of these shelves. If I knew where I'd hop up and get it right now.
Was that him or Charles Vess?
No.
Shambhala?
I don't know. I don't know.
No, it's an annual from 1976.
Oh, no, not that. He said graphic novel.
Oh, let me look at my app.
There's a Doctor Strange graphic novel that I think Charles Vess, it's called Shambhala or something like that. I can't remember who drew it, but one of those
Charles Vess did a Spider-Man graphic novel. I think Shambhala is by Dan Green.
Dan Green? I thought it was a painted one. But yeah, I can't remember.
It is painted, but it's by Dan Green.
Okay.
Charles Vess did a Spider-Man one called Spirits of the Earth.
Oh, right. I remember that.
Well,
I remember that.
I don't know how that happened.
And let's see, the rest of the reason I got 7 comics this week is because of True Believers. I think we talked about this one when I saw it was coming out, and I've told you this is the first it's Avengers 43. Avengers 43. It's the first Red Guardian, the Black Widow's husband, who had that belt buckle he threw at you. That always made me go, what? He had like a mini Captain America shield on his belt buckle, and that's what he threw at you. And I used to have this as a kid in Marvel Triple Action. I remember reading it in that. And I thought it was one of the Don Heck issues, but it's actually early John Buscema. So it's pretty cool. I haven't read this one. This new copy. And I think this is, and it says George Bell is inking him, who I think is George Russo's.
It is. Yeah, Buscema had gone back to Marvel, if not for that, slightly before that. It was around 66, 67 that he came back. And Stan Lee told him to draw like Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
Because if you see 50s John Buscema, you see that it's there, but it's not quite what you're used to.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was the first one to successfully incorporate Kirby's style into his own, and made it his own thing. You can tell. Okay, yes, I can see the Kirby techniques, but this is John Buscema. It's no one else.
Yep. And Sleepy got 15 comics this week. There's no way I'm keeping up with that unless they're dollar issues.
Wow.
The other one I got is Daredevil. What is this? 83? 81. I guess this is the first Daredevil and Black Widow. It's one of the Marvel 10th anniversary covers because it's in the box.
Yeah, I've read very little of that period, although I always wondered what was the idea that let's put Daredevil and Black Widow in the same comic.
Yeah, we were just talking Daredevil last week, and most of my Daredevil reading was post issue 100. So I haven't read I have some issues before 100, but not a lot. I don't think I've ever read this one.
Yeah, they stayed together about until 120 something.
Gene Colan and Jack Abel.
There's the Doctor Strange. That's the
graphic novel.
Yeah, I believe so. It's on my shelf somewhere.
What year does it say? What year it came out?
That's what I'm trying to find. It's not on my shelf. I haven't put it on the app yet. Give me a minute. I'll let you know.
That may be after I finished buying. Like I was buying all the graphic novels as they came out for like the first 20.
It's called it's called Doctor Strange. What is it that disturbs you, Stephen?
Oh, no. That's the retelling of the 76 annual. That one, it was a one-shot, came out in 98.
Right there. You got it, man. Right there.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's a reprint of the...
No, it's a retelling. They redrew everything.
He redid it.
Story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't even remember that.
No, it was during your time, I think.
Yeah, I was at Marvel then, and I don't remember it at all.
It's fantastic.
I really noticed it was, and I paid attention to Craig Russell.
Yeah, and it's
the funny thing is, you're redoing a story that you already did before with all new artwork, and you're doing it for Doctor Strange, who didn't have his own book at the time. So I suppose that's why they did it, because they might have because of trademark renewal.
Yeah, who knows? We always said, there should be a blurb on some covers that said because our lawyers demanded it. and Sleepy Reader says, I think Daredevil wasn't selling well, so they thought 2 heroes for the price of 1 might help. Got that? It could be.
Yeah, I know that they thought about doing merging Daredevil with Iron Man, because there was a storyline. I think it was called Mr. Klein storyline, where they were fighting the same character, but they didn't actually meet up. And after that, they were both going to have the same title, because Iron Man and Daredevil were both bi-monthlies at the time. So they probably thought it worked. There's J. Fairclough from Ireland, lover of cookies and dogs.
Palette getting some love. There you go.
And the last thing I got was the first appearance of Black Widow. Actually, the first 2, because it was a split book. They put issues, the Iron Man stories from issues, what is this, 51, 52, and 53 are in here.
Yeah, because there's no point in doing the Captain America story.
Yeah, that was my stuff. Pretty good stuff. I'm really enjoying these True Believers thing. I really do like buying them for $1 and seeing the new printings and stuff.
Those are fantastic. So I got this at an Ollie's. Thunder Agents Volume 5 hardback, okay. Wally Wood. I don't expect a lot of people to really know what this is, but I can't bring myself to open it quite yet, because when I looked it up, it's worth $50, and I got it for $9, and I was like ready to crack this thing open and read me some No Man, So, I was like, so what would you do? I mean, I know I like to enjoy my comics. These things don't usually bother me, but these are hardbacks that we'll probably never see again. That's the difference. This isn't like something from DC and Marvel I mean, DC put it out. They get me wrong, but I'm just saying you're not going to see something like this for a while.
They're not going to keep it in print forever.
This is from the 2000s.
Yeah, I have them actually.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, they put out 5 or 6.
Yeah, they're over there on my shelf. I forget how many they are. There.
And did they reprint everything? I know that they put out the solo issues as well, but I'm not sure if they reprinted everything.
All of it.
They did. I think it was everything. Let me just.
But not Undersea Agent.
Don't see that, but I mean, it's got like Thunder Agents, and then it's got like some of the solo stories through Solo Agents, like Raven. So I'm assuming it's all of it. But when I saw that these were out of print, that's the difference. Where
Volume 7 is 80s stuff.
Oh yeah, that's the stuff that doesn't count, right?
I got three issues of the 80s stuff with the Perez covers. So
the 80s stuff, it's got Perez insides too.
Yeah.
It's got Perez. It's got. I think there's all sorts of stuff in here. There's Paul Galassi I see here.
Yeah.
Oh, there's some. What's his name? Keith Giffen.
Yeah, and it wasn't printed under a DC label. It was all DC guys. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They didn't really.
Steve Ditko is in here.
Yeah. So
I have the original issues of this too.
Because I'm amazed that was edited by John Carbonaro, I think, and I wonder how the hell did he get the money to pay those guys?
Right. Well, I think DC it was a DC project. But they just didn't let you know it was a DC project. But if you knew your creators back then, you're like, wait a damn minute. You know what I mean? I'm like, wait a minute. Matthew Rasker. Oh, go ahead, man.
I was going to say, do you guys want to look at the pictures my sister sent me of the shelves of the Ollies? See what's on them?
Yeah. Since we got Matthew here now, Matthew's a regular viewer and he's hung in with us.
Right.
So I say we do his question and then we go to Ollie with you. We'll take everybody virtually to Ollie's. But how do we feel about Tom Strong and ABC Comics? I have them. I have almost all of them. I
bought Tom Strong as it was coming out. What were the other ones that came out? What was ABC Comics?
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Promethea, Tom Strong, Top 10, Tomorrow Stories. And then they had like some random miniseries like Smacks, and then some sequels that Alan Moore didn't write for Top 10. Right. Grey Shirt by Rick Vetch that came out of Tomorrow Stories. And then they had the 49ers, which is a fantastic Top 10 graphic novel one-shot. Probably Alan Moore's best work you've never heard of, you know.
Yeah. I remember I bought Promethea. I enjoy that one. Matter of fact, I think I gave you the scan of the whole issue put together.
Yeah.
The last issue. I like Promethea. I like Tom Strong. I only read the first issue of Top 10 and it didn't grab me.
Top 10. Top 10 got better as it went along. Each issue was like a case or a different case with a little subplot underneath. If you read them all, they got so many cameos in there and so much stuff going on with a little bit of a humor to it. You'll find something. There's a lady who called the Top 10 cops to come into her apartment because all the mice were superheroes and Galactopus, the cat, had landed and they were having an Infinite Crisis on Secret Wars Earth Battle World something in her living room. And you had Galactopus. and that was just 2-3 little pages and 5 panels while things were going on, So let's go to Ollie's here because Gore Vidal Gore Vidal finally got to go to Ollie's and he finally got to buy some stuff.
Let me click on share screen here. Oh, he finally had Guardians of the Galaxy Omni and King Size Kirby. Wow.
I got an hour show where I just go through that Kirby book. Yeah.
That King Size Kirby was the one that weighs 18 pounds. All right, let me hit share screen. Will it let me share? Okay, share screen.
Oh, no.
Let's go to that one. Hit share.
Scott's here. Is it not going to let you share?
I think it should. Is it not letting me share?
No, I think you have to be the owner of the stream.
Hold on. It popped up just now on mine. Hold on. There we go.
There we have to give him permission. There we go.
It took a minute.
Here's the first picture. I think this is the Marvel Comics Golden Age #6. Looks like they have 6 copies of it.
Hey, Jared, tell people who's sending you this and where it's at. We got 17 people, and when you talk about it, we had 3.
These are from there's an Ollie's near my sister in Orange County, New York. And I've never been there. So I asked her to go there and see if there were any if they had a comic sections. I know some Ollie's have good comic sections, some don't. And this one has a pretty big comic section, she said. And she said like this Marvel Comics Volume 6 Golden Age is $9.
Mm-hmm.
See what else is in
It's
here.
not at my Ollie's. That one is not at my Ollie's. Yep.
Yeah, Suicide Squad stuff.
Yeah, and these things are marked down to like 75 and 80%. 70%. Yeah.
There's Arrow. So let's go to the next one. Yeah, that's what it is. That's
I bet that's $9.99 because they had they had the Tales of Suspense and Iron Man stories of that at one Ollie.
Right. That one's $9. All-Star Comics. I think there's a price on it in red. This is probably $9 too.
Yeah, I would grab those. Those actually do end up going pretty fast. Well, at least down here. I passed up the Sergeant Rock ones and some Legion ones that I regretted.
Yeah. Come on, all I want to do is how do I move you? There we go. Yeah, $8.99.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're hitting my bread and butter here, man.
Road to Onslaught #1. What's that behind it? Thanos?
Yeah, the Jim Starlin Thanos one shots. Those are, I think, $8 there. Hold on. They're $25.
I keep hitting the wrong button. Hold on. It's not the space bar. Or do we hit the space bar moves us down one? Okay. What did I do?
I think that Road to One slot is gonna be there for a couple of years.
Yeah, here are the Thanos books you saw behind it right there. It's these.
Oh, okay. That's $6 for that Thanos book, which looks bigger than the X-Men book.
It's an original graphic novel. All winners. Yeah.
And behind that is Justice League Unwrapped. It's the sketches of Jim Lee's DC 52 Justice League run.
I think I want that one.
Yeah.
That one I'd get because I like any books that are pencils and stuff like that.
Pretty sure. What do they call it unwrapped when it's obviously wrapped in plastic?
Yeah, those all winners are the issues where Marvel finally decided to answer the All-Star Comics. That's when the All Winners Squad debuts. But those already from 1946, so that's pretty late in the superhero game. So they only last for 2 issues. What's worse, they picked the Wizard to be on one of the team members, and the Wizard's feature had already been canceled by then.
Yeah, the Wizard. I always love that name, the Wizard.
They're advertising. They advertise Deadpool in local flyers and stuff around here when they get Deadpool stuff. That blows my mind. Yeah, that's a local thing.
Yet another. I wonder why this one is $9.99 and the other one is $8.99.
Something about the Marvel books, they sell those. They don't discount them as much, just to put it short and skinny. I don't know what the deal is.
Look at this. They have collector's packs.
Yeah, where I'm at, they have 10 packs. That's a 5-pack. They put 2 good comics. I don't know what company does this. They put 2 good comics, one on the front, one on the back, and you never know what you're going to get in the middle. The Simply Incredible podcast will open those on his he's out in Roanoke, I think. So he's got access to about 2 Ollies, I think. He'll buy those and open them up and show you what's inside.
Oh, look, there's even a name, Supreme Marketing, Shove Street, box number 9. So I guess whoever is marketing these is putting them. And here's our shelf. What do we? Oh, there's our Thunder Agents book.
There you go.
Wow, that's organized compared to the Ollies I went to.
Yeah, it just depends. Like I said, I think I have 5 within 2 hours drive. If I wanted to hit all of them, and 3 or 4 of them are within an hour. That's in good shape with what you find right there. People are civilized up north, apparently. You know.
Oh, there's Justice League Unwrapped by Jim Lee.
There you go.
Yeah, they actually have things stacked in actual stacks, not running into each other.
See, when I hit the one in Bristol, Virginia, they had them stacked so high, like a tower on top of one another, that when I pulled one book out, it fell on me, and I was literally, no exaggeration, waist deep in these hardbacks. The two or three staff and one or two customers came to help dig me out, and all that's going through my head is if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. I'm like, this is it. This is how I go out in a avalanche of comics,
The Big Book of Paleo Slow Cooking. Is that a comic?
They have cooking sections. No, they have cooking sections. They get all these books, and people are just mixing them up.
Call of Duty. Is that Warcraft logo up there? An Ultimate Visual Guide?
Yeah, they have Warcraft. Yeah, they get everything.
First Teen President. Is that Prez?
I don't know. It could be.
Is that a collection of the first 60? Let's see if we can go in a little. Prez, the first teen president.
That hasn't hit down here. Yeah, that hasn't hit down here. So I would grab that one, sir.
Yeah.
That's by the same guy that created Superman.
Let's see. Oh, what's this down here? Hold on. I see some Onslaught. Oh, Grimm's Fairy Tales. I've never read that. I've always kind of heard of it, but
those are stacked. Nobody's touched them. Here's what's amazing with the omnibuses that came out. The $125 omnibus of Deadpool and Guardians of the Galaxy solo adventures. Those sold out real quick. What sat there for almost 2 or 3 weeks, they finally sold out as of yesterday when I went, was the Ultimate line of comics where they took their Ultimate Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, X-Men, and some other book, and they put the first 6 issues of each series in that book. That omnibus sat there for 3 weeks. I mean, nobody wants that stuff around.
It looks like this Ollie's got all the copies of Prez. Yeah, here's 2 more over here. So there's 4 copies of Prez we've seen so far. Star Wars.
Yeah, they got tons of Star Wars stuff. Yeah. King size Kirby was only $39. That's what Gore bought.
Wow. I just paid $70 for it at my local comic shop and discount.
Hey, Comic Cracks here that you were talking about. Jared's sister sent him pictures of his local Ollie's up there. So we're just looking at the Ollie's books in his area.
Let's see what we got. Graphic novels. What is this sign up here? Legend of Wonder Woman, $5.99. I guess they want you to know that
that's what they've been doing with Deadpool down here. Those flyers, they're for Deadpool down here.
Is that Newsboy Legion?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Another copy of the new.
She needs to grab that. That's not at my Ollie's. My birthday is in March. We have Christmas coming up. Just saying.
Which one is that?
Newsboy Legion. Kirby's Newsboy Legion. I can't believe that's sitting there.
Yeah, Tim, I went to the Ollie's in Salem a few weeks ago, and I got a bunch of Star Wars books, but didn't really see a whole lot more than that.
Right.
12?
Yeah, that 12 pisses me off. It's only on sale.
Is that the one that was never finished?
No, he finished it about a year later, but that collection right there, that hardback collection, you can get other hardbacks there for $8, $9. That one is stuck at $15.
Wow.
But it goes to 12.
All winners. Marvel something. I can't read those ones in the plastic.
Marvel Comics. They're reprints from the Golden Age stuff.
These are more of those Marvel Comics Volume 6 then. They got a lot of that Marvel Comics Volume 6 Golden Age.
Yeah, Matthew Rasko, Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman did one issue with Mike Allred. It's in the World's End trade with Prez in it, and it's a fantastic story.
Yeah, it's a really good story.
Neil Gaiman, I mean, it's one of the best stories in the Sandman series.
Here's their Suicide Squad stuff. Is that Action Comics of some kind?
The Suicide Squad stuff sold really quick, and they only have 2 of those trades left. It really surprised me how many people wanted that Luke McDonald art. I was like, you gotta be kidding me, man.
Stephen Colbert's Tech Jansen?
Yeah, it's actually a really funny book.
Yeah, I've never heard of that one.
Yeah. Go ahead. Oh, Forgotten Realms. Yes. Yeah.
Forgotten Realms. It's not that good, Tim.
Settle down, Scott. Settle down.
The Forgotten Realms. Oh shoot, Dragonlance.
You will not.
Not that good.
No. You will not desecrate the name of Dwalamir Omen. All right.
I actually played Dungeons and Dragons. That's why I know they're not that good.
I was there.
Featuring Marvel and DC only. Walking Dead, Rick Grimes coloring book. Wow.
Yeah, they have tons of coloring books. I've got the Harley one. They got a Green Arrow.
Do you get to color anybody besides just Rick?
Isn't
Superman.
Every issue of The Walking Dead a coloring book?
Yeah, there you go.
Now, about 2 months ago, they had all 4 of the compendiums of The Walking Dead for $10 a piece. Those sold like hotcakes. They were gone.
Smallville. There's another volume 6. Wow.
What you're looking at, though, is that this is the stuff that's left over. This is the stuff that's left over. All the good stuff that, compared to this is gone. That's why you got to check in regularly and stuff.
Tim already cherry picked it all.
Yeah, that's either Stormwatch or Stormwatch. I'm not sure which.
It's the DC 52 Stormwatch.
Oh, okay. That's fun. Wow, that's a lot of Green Arrow.
Yeah.
4, 5, 1.
But I turned around and I walked in there and was able to get the absolute edition of Green Arrow that Kevin Smith did for $15. So yeah, it's on my shelf behind me here. Yeah.
What is this? Oh, Smallville season 11. I saw Miller there and thought maybe Frank Miller, but no.
And I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised there's not a lot of Buffy in there. There was a lot of Buffy and Angel trades.
Yeah, we haven't seen one.
There weren't many Dark Horse books at all.
No,
there's Wasteland.
Harley's Little Black Book.
Yeah, I also found Gore Vidal said he also found the Taschen Marvel Age Comics 61 to 78 by Roy Thomas and Paul Levitz, $9.99 and $12.99. If you can remember.
More of those. Lots of Green Arrow, man.
Yeah.
I can't tell what these ones are, but it's Marvel.
Most of the stuff that the Ollies I went to was Marvel.
Manhunter Trial by Fire. That's one of the later ones, right? That's not.
Yeah, that's
70.
the female. That's the female Manhunter, and the big thing about that was who her parents were. And after they did the big revelation, you were just sort of like, "That's it, okay."
Yeah.
And then
volume 2 over there.
Gamer Edition.
Okay, Comic Crack is saying, is this a chain store that is going out of business? No, this is Ollie's outlet stores. When companies want to empty their warehouse or a chain of stores go out of business, they get the surplus, the stock. These are all brand new books, but Ollie's puts them on discount.
This is where Marvel and DC have been dumping their overstock.
Yeah. About 2 years ago, DC Comics sold all their stuff out of their warehouse, supposedly, and Ollie's got $13 to $15 million worth of DC comic trades and stuff.
Yeah.
And they were selling comics and getting these trades to begin with, but that's when they blew up. And
all right.
So instead of the normal remainder dots on the bottom, you get these really annoying stickers you have to peel off the covers of your books.
Yeah, and I noticed they were all shrink wrapped too.
Yeah, they're brand new. They've never been opened. That's the whole.
No, they're re-shrink wrapped. I can
re-shrink wrapped. Okay.
Yeah. So whenever someone says something's, this is still in the shrink wrap, you can go, no, you can shrink wrap a book. I could tell they shrink wrapped a lot of those hardcovers, especially by how the shrink wrap fits.
Jared knows his shrinkage.
Yeah. I used to shrink wrap books. And in college, I worked at a book distribution warehouse. I would shrink wrap things.
Well, what in Texas was it?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, guys. So I got a new shirt before we jump in there. Defiant shirt.
Defiant.
Yeah.
Are you gonna go to the show in Salem and in Roanoke and see Jim Shooter?
I haven't heard a thing about it. I haven't got an alert or anything on Facebook, and I'm not on Facebook that much to begin with. But
oh yeah, since the last time you talked, they've added Jim Shooter and a few other people.
I tried to talk to him at Heroes Con, but he's got a handler. And
well, it's Renee Wittenstatter. She's going to be there too.
Oh, okay. It wasn't Renee. Yeah.
Can I tell you?
Yeah.
No, used to work with Renee. Nobody can tell a Renee story without doing her accent. Because she's from Texarkana, the Texas side, and she's got this Texas accent that she talks with. And it's like when you tell a Renee story and you're quoting her, I swear everybody
uses that voice.
It's the funniest thing.
It's funny.
It's like,
I imagine that a Texan in New York must be the most fish out of water experience ever.
Sam Jones is going to be there too.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm completely serious. Yeah.
I don't know. I'll think about it, man. This age of COVID stuff. I'm
not.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
I can wait.
Comic Crack. I was going through my watch later list on YouTube the other day, and I saw one of your Starfleet Battles videos on there. So I haven't watched it yet, but I have it saved to watch later.
All right. Well, anyway, one of the other things I got, the reason I showed the Defiant thing is the Dead Universe concept. You know, like a dead comic book company, a dead universe where you get a complete collection. I don't know what's going on, but Defiant Universe has kind of got like a little blip of a wave going on. Somebody started a Facebook group. The shirt was like floating around on Publix and all this stuff. I think it's just coincidence. I think it's all just kind of a coincidence thing. You know, I don't think it's like this big renaissance. But I went ahead and I just played around on eBay. And I found a sealed Heroes #3, Wizard wannabe that has a Defiant comic poster in it and an interview about Defiant Comics, from 1993. So, and then I realized, wow, 1993 was 27 years ago, and I got a little sad. Because I remember all that stuff.
They were a Wizard wannabe, but at that stage, they had a better quality product.
I like Heroes, but I think that was the thing. Wizard was hitting big, and I think it was poor timing on Pure Hero. I think it was like back and forth there for a little bit on who had the better product by month. In my opinion, Hero, if they could have just stuck around, would have won the long game. In my opinion, Wizard around late 90s, Wizard split up their product. They went from having all this stuff in Wizard magazine to where they had a card magazine, a toy magazine, whatever else, and they just
Inquest, which was the gaming magazine.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that's when I think Hero could have took them.
Yeah, because you used to be able to get all that stuff in Wizard, and then you couldn't.
Well, that Wizard split into other magazines right around the time of the market crash. So I think it's probably the worst time to dump a bunch of new magazines. Yeah. But at least for them it was good because they took out the competition, both Hero Illustrated and Comic Scene.
I can remember it was in the early 90s. There used to be so many video game magazines.
Oh, I wish I kept those. Oh.
There still are, but not as many as there used to be.
I'll tell you, we used to in the bullpen, because the bullpen, there was lots of people who were gamers, of course. Right. Everybody in their 20s. And we used to get the new magazines and pass them all around and read them. And there was like a new one every 3 days, because there was like 10 or 12 video game magazines a month. It was kind of crazy.
I remember when I was a kid, I got a computer gaming magazine, and it was the first. That's what I'm looking for. Is the first instance of the equivalent of a cheat code that I ever come across. It was the Atari 2600. And I found out that if you held down the reset button while you powered the unit off and back on again, it would double your firepower rate. And I thought, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. And I tried it. It's like, oh my God, it works. This is awesome. This is the best thing ever. Yeah.
Do you remember the game Adventure and the Secret Dot?
Yeah. Yep, sure did.
It's like that just got known by like being passed around by kids at school. It was like there was it was probably the earliest RPG for the Atari, and it was for the Atari 2600.
And the graphics
And
were so.
if you went to this certain screen
terrible.
and pressed in this certain place, it would open this door, and you could go in.
Yeah.
And and there was like an invisible dot that you had to push around to this other place, which opened another door, and you went up in there, and it gave you credits for the game.
Right.
It was a little backdoor thing the programmers write in, and it was like it was like, before the age of the internet and everything. It just got passed around by word of mouth, and you found out about it one day at school.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen the Homestar Runner or not, but they did a really good parody of that in one of the Strong Bad email videos where they parody Adventure. It's really funny.
I love there for a period where you could say up, down, left, right, A, B, start. And and if there are other people around you when you did that, you all would come in, sync together, and everybody would get loud and be like, and start together. That's for internet days, man. So.
What did the rest of the people do?
And speaking of 1993 being so long ago, that just reminded me. One of my notes here is, once again, I while watching a YouTube video, I heard someone, ETA Nick, refer to a 1980s book as modern, and that always cracks me up. I
saw that on Facebook where you said that. Yeah,
it always cracks. You can tell how old somebody is when they call a book from 1985 modern. It's just
it's like I told you. Nobody's in agreement on when the copper age ends.
No,
and another age begins. So everything is still modern, even though they're not.
Even though it was 35 years ago, it's still the modern age.
It's when they made that copper tone ad.
Mm-hmm. See, I want to say it ended with the. See, I still hold that the new era started with the appearance of Cable. Rob Liefeld's Cable. That was the character.
What
that
new
kind
era?
of harbinger. Well, there should have been a new era, and that led up to the superstar artists. That led to Image. You know what I mean?
I actually always liked. I heard someone say once that it was, what was the name of that book? Early 90s. It was Legends of the Dark Knight or something. It was the first book from Marvel or DC with multiple covers. It was the one. It came in like. It wasn't.
Yeah, it was Legends. It was Legends of the Dark Knight.
It was Legends of the Dark. It was some Batman book, but they had like the magenta version and the blue version and the yellow version. There were 4 versions of this one, and someone said that was the start of whatever that 90s era was, because it was the first one that had a gimmick cover. At least from Marvel and DC, there were some.
I always feel like it's the event in a comic with a character that makes a new era. Yeah. I mean, I get where he's coming from. Whoever said I totally get that. It's interesting.
Yeah, I always thought that was an interesting idea because it launched all the gimmick covers of the 90s, which is the early 90s. But now we've got more gimmick covers than ever. I wonder what comic launched the gimmick covers of the 21st century.
See, I don't know. I stall on this one. I get stuck. When I got that Malibu book where it had the bullet hole through the middle of it, I can't get past that. I'm stuck there. That's the one that I'm like, this is too much. This is ridiculous. I'm out. Y'all talk amongst yourselves.
I just saw a deck of cards with that same motif, a bullet hole through the center of the deck of cards.
Yeah. I didn't realize this book traumatized me,
Speaking of being traumatized, that brings me to a topic I wanted to bring up. I'm always like noticing these, behaviors I or other comic book fans have, or coming up with names for things like, Powers Creep or the Brooklyn Bridge effect, things that happen in comic books.
Mm-hmm.
And something I just thought of this week as I was first, let me get out the comic shop news.
While he's getting that, Tom Bagley is having the same effect I did when I realized what was going on. Fantastic Four #1 is closer in time to 1985. Then 1985 is to where we are today. Wow. Yeah, I'm with you. You start doing the math and you're like, oh my God, my wife was born in 82 and I'm born in 73. And it's amazing the things I can bring up or watch. And she's like, I was just born when that came out. All my favorite movies, you know.
It's like
I'm older than your wife.
By today's rules in 1985, like a modern comic would be like EC Comics. I was just looking through this, and we'll look through it a little later. But I came upon where is it?
Tales from the Crib.
Do I have the correct one? No, I have last week's. Hold on.
Now while he's doing that, I tell you what. Anybody read Max in a while? Because I'm trying to make my way through the first 20 issues.
No,
Is that too weird for her?
Huh?
That was by Sam Keith, right?
Yeah.
I never could get into Sam Keith's artwork.
And Sam Keith is hard to follow for first-time readers.
Oh, okay.
I
wasn't expecting this. I'm overwhelmed.
I mean, I don't hate Sam Keith. He doesn't really do much for me.
Oh, I love his stuff. He's got.
I was always wanting to see the first.
I've never been a big
arc redrawn by Bernie Wrightson.
Yeah, I think Sam Keith was never on the right project, and he came onto the scene when you had to do superheroes to become known, and this style is completely wrong for superheroes.
Somebody started telling me about his personal life, and I backed him up. I was like, I don't want to know. I'm not having his stuff ruined for me.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me. Anyway, I'd like to point out this was right next to me. I brought it out with the comic books. So
wow.
That's why I couldn't find it. But in the back, it had, it just going over the comics. Nope, it's mostly DC. There's one in here that has, here it is. The Avengers. I don't even know what it is. Some Avengers event that's coming up, and it's got the Phoenix in it. And in my head, I went, the Phoenix, I'm going to avoid that one.
Yeah.
And I realized that because I've always heard people say like when there's some big event comic from Marvel or DC coming out, or some event like Doc Ock Spider-Man or female Thor or something where they radically change the character and everybody on the internet or wherever complains, and then everybody else goes, stop your complaining. Things always change, blah, blah, blah. And one of the things they also always say is, well, you still got all the comics you love. It doesn't change them. But what I realized is, and I've been doing this for years, and I didn't realize it specifically. I kind of realized it's I'm mostly a indie guy, and I've been mostly an indie guy for years. But I was a Marvel kid. I grew up reading Marvels. I'd check in with Marvel every now and then just to see what was going on, but I haven't done that in 10 years now, maybe. And the reason is I realized that it's true. It's like I haven't read Spider-Man since the Doc Ock. I haven't even checked in with Spider-Man since the Doc Ock one. Like I remember reading Spider Island, and that was okay. And they're all just okay generally. When I'm like, I want to read some Hulk. I read some Hulk. It's just okay. I can go back to not reading Hulk or whatever. But I realized and I think this started with Thanos for me. I can specifically start it because Thanos, the Jim Starlin 70s stuff from Thanos was my favorite. And he died at the end of the story, and he didn't even come back for 10 years. Mm-hmm. So when Thanos came back with Infinity Crusade or whatever it was, Infinity War, I can't even remember. Yeah. I just avoided it. I went, I don't want to read it. To me, Thanos is dead. And people say, and it actually does affect your old stories when you read them. It's like, because everything has context. So if you read, if I go back, I can still go back and read the old stories and like them. But if I've now read 1,000 new mediocre Thanos stories,
it ruins the character.
That context is going to be in my head when I read the old ones, which is why I avoid them in general.
People who say that they don't affect the stories don't know what they're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially when something is retconned, it affects the story in your mind. So, and it's like I have never read. To me, Phoenix died in X-Men 137, and so I've avoided reading. And I've not read a single story with the Phoenix in it since.
And what they're trying to do with the Phoenix, it anything that you can think of that cheapens the Phoenix, what they're doing with the Phoenix now is even cheaper than that.
Yeah.
But I now realize that I'm now old enough where there are more stories I'm avoiding than stories I'm reading when it comes to Marvel, especially. So it's like I'm like there needs to be a word for that. When you reach the point where there's more stories you're avoiding than you're reading, and it doesn't really have to do if the stories are good or bad. That's kind of that because if you're a new reader and you start there and that's your context and you like the stories, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that because I'm not even saying the stories are bad. I'm just saying compared to the ones that I like, and and since they're continuing characters, they change the It's like I can't even read Miles Morales Spider-Man.
You have stepped into my world that I have had for 5 years. I'm glad you know. Welcome. Welcome.
But the only thing I'm saying
it's a crossover.
But the difference is I'm not saying the stories are bad. That's just I'm sure I'm not going to like them because they don't fit in the It's like
I realize what you're saying. As for what you're trying to do, I'm thinking maybe comic chicanery. I don't know.
I don't know that there has to be a phrase for when you have more comics you avoid than you can read.
Yeah,
because like I've avoided just about all Miles Morales comics, just because I'm not interested in somebody besides Peter Parker being Spider-Man. The idea doesn't sit well with me in my head. It doesn't fit with Spider-Man.
I'm trying to
stories could be good for people. He's their favorite Spider-Man.
I'm trying to give you your space here and get all this out. But I'm over here going, yes, and this and that. Yeah, you're right there with it. My thing is like we'll take the Phoenix for a minute, and it's the same thing. It's just going to add to what you're saying, right? But the thing about it is when the Phoenix hit, the Phoenix Force, I didn't understand what it was, but it ate a planet. You get what I'm saying? I mean, it came in, it destroyed a whole planet. This thing is powerful. It's a universal force. And they really didn't explain what it was. You know what I'm saying? Like it had this mystique where I was waiting for them to explain what it was. The next time I thought it was used pretty good, it was a plot device for Teen Titans and Darkseid. You know, Teen Titans. Teen Titans and the X-Men crossover. Then after that, that's where it got cheapened. Okay, so you have this universal force that everybody has talked about, and it's feared, and it destroyed a planet. And then all of a sudden, what does Marvel do with it? Let's bring back the Phoenix Force and divide it up with 5 people. All of a sudden, it's like you have this universal force that they're just being willy-nilly with it, and it cheapens the whole thing. Like, it should be.
But the thing is, I don't. The difference is like it doesn't even if you had started, it cheapens it to us. Like I've never even read those, so I can't even say it cheapens it because I avoided reading them.
Right.
But if that was the first Phoenix you ever read, that would be what the Phoenix is, and the story might be good to you. So I'm not even saying it's the quality of the story.
Yeah, but
I'm
go
just
back.
Saying it's retconned in such a way that it actually, I actually avoid it because I don't want it to affect the stories I like, because it does. Stories have context.
Yeah. And at that event, and whatever that was, I don't know if it was Avengers, X-Men crossover, or whatever it was, where they did that to the Phoenix. That's where that may be the point I started doing what you're talking about, dodging stories, because you read that and then you go back and read your Death of Phoenix story and stuff, and you're just it cheapens it. They're ruining. Yeah, they're still
puts it in a different
EVX already stayed only with the main book. I didn't read anything that was around it. And then with Civil War 2, it was after that. Civil War 2 was, okay, I don't care about Marvel events anymore.
To me, it doesn't even have to do with events. It just
one thing that pissed me off was how they ended the Hickman run in the Avengers, because it didn't end it in the Avengers. They ended it in an event. And by that, look, it reminded me of that time in the WWF when we would have the weekly shows, but all the important stuff happened in the pay-per-views.
Right.
Yeah. I'm following this, and then I have to get an extra product to get the end of the story.
Yeah, that's a whole other Gore Vidal said. It just diminishes the impact of the original stories, but that's only if you have read the original stories. So it's like it's kind of like, because there are things you could what it's just so strange because they're actually these stories are done with intellectual property owned by a corporation, and they're going to exploit that property no matter what we think of the stories. If we think they're good or bad, they're going to exploit those properties as much as they can. So it's like, it makes you also realize that these stories don't matter in the least to the owners of the intellectual property.
But
you know what?
Although all those characters coming back happened still during the Tom DeFalco run as EIC, and I can imagine the type of meeting that he had with the publisher at the time. So what happened to they were probably going through a list of characters. So this character, I like it. Oh, we can't use that. That's dead. Okay, what about this one? That's dead too. And by the third or fourth, listen, I don't care that these characters are dead. They look interesting, and I went to mark them, bring them back.
Right.
I love the fact that it's been 33 years, give or take, since Jim Shooter's been gone, and for the last 5 years, people are saying we need Shooter back. Think about that. Think about that. I mean, if you are in this hobby, if you know what that means, you're just like, damn, bro. I think, I'm thinking of people who ran from Marvel when Jim Shooter became editor-in-chief, that they might go back now if he was there.
I bet none of these people are creators.
I don't know, man. But oh man, I had something to say and I got a message. Continue on. I might jump in here in a minute. I had a thought I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, but like I said, I need to come up with a name for that situation I'm in where I'm avoiding more comics than I'm reading.
What I call taste.
Yeah, we're at a point with a lot of entertainment, not just comics, where people are avoiding things, and if they're a business and stuff, they're losing money. I don't think they're aware that they've created an environment where people are going to be like, I'm not buying that. I don't want my older stuff, tainted.
I think they don't care. I think when you're the owner of the intellectual property, you're going to exploit that intellectual property as much as you can with whoever wants to see it now.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad Tom brought this up.
Like the first one.
I'm glad Tom brought this up because I bit my lip for a minute going over there.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that the Dark Phoenix saga was immediately cheapened the moment Jean Grey was revived in the cocoon underwater. They did that because they were getting all the original X-Men back together and they became right? And John Byrne and the Fantastic Four and the Avengers had a little mini crossover there, sort of, with bringing her back. But when you hear the story behind how it happened, it makes it seem less cheap, but they didn't put that out. Kurt Busiek, who had been in letter columns trying to get a job and probably, might have had one miniseries back then with Red Tornado. Jim Shooter said he would never bring Jean back unless somebody had a solid story to do it in. And it was Kurt Busiek who came up with the story on how to bring Jean back. So Jim Shooter was convinced through story to bring her back. Once you hear that, you're like, well, that's the exception. And then Infinity
God, I would have been,
I
would have been okay with that if they didn't bring the Phoenix back.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
I mean, bringing Jean Grey back that way would have been okay. I mean, I wasn't really reading X Factor then. It didn't interest me that much. I found Jean Grey.
I really wasn't invested that much. I was not an X-Men guy at the time.
Right.
It was the more like Massacre that made me one.
But the Phoenix Force is not used in that uber powerful capacity again until post Onslaught. So Jean's back. Rachel appears in Excalibur as Phoenix, but she does not possess the Phoenix Force. She has some sort of remnant. And the Phoenix Force has a cameo at the end of Inferno when she gives Jean Maddie Pryor's memories, but she takes off again. So
Madeline Pryor.
It took them a long time to bring the Phoenix Force back. I remember it was decades before they came up with that Phoenix Force idea that I've avoided.
And even Thanos kind of works because it was Jim Starlin bringing him back.
Yeah, I didn't.
Then you have all the crossovers in the 90s with Cosmic Powers Unlimited. And then there was the Keith Giffen series from a few years ago. And that's when they start overextending Thanos.
I don't blame Jim Starlin for wanting to bring him back. I just didn't want to read it.
Yeah,
and to a lot of people, Infinity. No, what the heck is the name of it again? Infinity War.
Gauntlet. Gauntlet. The Gauntlet War Crusade.
Thanos.
Yeah.
So if you're 15 years younger than me, that's your Thanos. That's the Thanos you love, and you go back and read that 70s Thanos, and you're like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
That's not Thanos. I'm not even saying the stories are bad.
Yeah. Tom, I'm glad it was Jim Starlin that did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least it was him. You know, I mean, there's ways. Yeah, I mean, I totally believe me. If after some of the stuff that I've been reading and saying for at least the last 5 years, I get you. I feel you.
I think Tom remember Conan when he wasn't in the Avengers.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. I can't read Conan in the Avengers. It's not going to happen. So I'm avoiding the Avengers. I'm avoiding any of the modern Conan stuff. Can't read it.
Tom Bagley may have just nailed it here. You know, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. I think Jean Grey and Thanos could have been their learning experiences. You know what I mean?
It was
but they were financially successful, so their learning experience was, this works, let's do it again and again
and again and again and again.
Yeah, my thing is at the time with Thanos and at the time with Jean Grey, I'm just going to kind of like nod with you guys. I wasn't invested enough, but believe me, there's been plenty of stuff they have messed with that I'm like, that's why I can feel you. You know what I mean? I'm like, I totally get it. You know?
I think Elektra coming back in the Dan Chichester run in Daredevil, that was not handled well.
Mm-mm.
But not because it was bad, but it was more because it was bland.
Wow. And like female Thor. I have avoided female Thor. Everybody says it's a really good comic. Everybody reads it.
I can't get past the fact that Jared, let me tell you what's going to do. I'm going to take you out of the scene and I'm going to bring in somebody else. I'm going to give them your name and I'm going to have to act like they're you.
Yeah.
You know, I can't get past that. That's stupid. Thor is his name. You know, for 1,500 years, that's his been name in mythology. I want you to step off and bring somebody else in so I can pretend they're Jared. That's what they've done.
I mean, first of all, I don't like families to begin with, you know, in terms of, you know, it annoys me that there's a Spider-Man. I like how way Marvel used to be with one Spider-Man. Now there's 27. That annoys me to begin with.
Whoa.
Then they took.
Remember when Marvel renamed old villains because there was a new villain who was more successful with that name, and they didn't want the confusion of having two wizards, and those both were D-listers just for. And now
everybody but
they couldn't even think of a good.
They couldn't even think of a good girl name for Thor, so they just named her Thor, and it's like what?
Yeah, and besides, there's one thing about Jane Foster. Jane Foster is annoying. She has always been annoying. Jane Foster is a Stan Lee creation. You know it because Jack Kirby did not actually work on the first year and a half of Thor. He only did Journey into Mystery 83 and 85 and then a couple of others. But the rest was Al Hartley and Vinnie Coletta drawing. And Jane Foster was like Pepper Potts and like Karen Page in those 60 stories. Yeah, no personality at all.
I love it.
And they were all annoying. They were, I want to marry my boss.
Yeah,
they kept going and going.
They were token women in the 1960s.
Jack Kirby introduced Sif in Tales of Asgard, and she was immediately interesting enough that he brought her on to the main continuity.
Right.
And then it was Kirby, by plotting, who got rid of Jane Foster. And then Jane Foster marries Don Blake's lookalike in Doug Mench's run. And she appears in only one issue of Walt Simonson's run, which proves how boring it is. Because if Walt Simonson, who brought all the cool things, used all the cool parts of Thor's universe, did not want to use Jane Foster between one issue to make a point,
right,
was to give in kind of, there was a kind of live happily ever after, which I suppose it's a good send off. But apart from that, no Jane Foster.
I don't even have those specific reasons. I just think it's dumb. That's why I avoid it.
Yeah.
And if I read the comic, I might even like it just because everyone says it's real good. But I avoid it because I just think it's dumb.
Well, it's one of those books that's kind of forgotten about. The people who bought the book monthly, it has its fans. Nothing wrong with that, but it's not something that people really you hear them talk about.
It'll be remembered again when the movie comes out.
Right. Well, the whole thing with Jane Foster kind of popped again when they did that what if story of what if Jane Foster became Thor, and that still wasn't a thing. That you know what I mean? Like it was kind of like a tongue-in-cheek, silly kind of story. I don't know. I'm trying to be very nice here, not bash it, because it wasn't that bad. It's just too much at once and a silly premise. And
maybe that's what they should do is bring back What If, and if somebody comes up with a stupid story idea, just put it in there. Yeah.
It was a What If.
Yeah. Quality has nothing to do with this when I'm avoiding a book. It's just I think it's a bad idea, and I think it will just I think it will just affect the context of all the stories. It doesn't work in my context, in the context of my mind. I don't want to read a Thanos story because he's dead to me.
Well,
I don't want to read a female Thor story because I just think it's a silly idea. I don't want to read anyone else as Spider-Man because I just think it's a silly idea.
Well, here's the deal. This is like Watchmen TV show saying that you get Manhattan's powers by eating an egg if he puts them in there. It's stupid, right? But I mean, how many people are now worthy enough to carry that freaking hammer? How many people can like get have radioactive blood?
Yeah,
like a spider.
That spider's bitten like 3 people now.
Yeah, I know it's going back to your superhero family thing, but to me, this is where you dilute something that was special and unique for that character. And that's what made him so cool. It's their story with those powers, and you're just making carbon copies of them,
Yeah.
Well, there's so many comic books out there to choose from that why would I pick one that I think is a dumb idea?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and my deal. Okay, I want to back up a little bit. I'm ready. I'm getting rolling. I'll back it up here. But can somebody explain this to me? Tell me this isn't what I think it is, because I know there's a clone of Gwen running around.
I don't even know. They brought back Gwen a long time ago, and she wandered off into the night. And then they brought her back. I couldn't even tell you which Gwen Stacy is still around. There's probably 3 Gwen Stacys still around.
Well, I know there was the clone, and I know there's one from in another part of the multiverse. There is whatever.
Yeah, Spider-Gwen is from another part of the multiverse.
Yeah, Spider-Man, and there's Gwenpool and whatever. It's kind of
Tom is on this. Chris Claremont had hated the cocoon idea. That's how they did Jane. They're saying the Phoenix Force put the actual Jean in a cocoon that looked like, after all the stuff grew on it, it looked like an Adam Warlock thing. That's why I picked up the story. I thought it was Adam Warlock. But
wasn't the bottom of the Hudson River where she was?
Yes.
Yeah.
The busiest body of water on the East Coast.
And this is what he's saying. Chris Claremont said, "You mean to tell me the Harbor Police never searched the area for 4 years?" That's hilarious to me.
Yeah, I don't know what the chronology is, but I bet somebody just watched the movie Cocoon. Hey, let's do that.
Well, the best thing about that story that I got a kick out of is that Steve Rogers was sitting there doodling, and he drew the cocoon for Adam Warlock, and he showed the police a sketch or somebody. He was like, "Is this it?" And you thought Adam Warlock was popping up. So imagine my surprise when they just rubbed it off, and it was like soot or algae or something that had grown on it under the river. I'm like,
he wipes it off, and it says V'ger.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to disparage Marvel, Howler, nicely. Okay, I should have read. Yeah, anyway. Oh man, well this was fun, guys. I'm gonna have to wrap it up here. But this was good to get the band back together. I appreciate it. Maybe work will stay calm now. It got worse before it got better. Let me tell you that.
It's been a really bad week too.
I mean. I think the stream's got a lag on it. We've been on it for so long. We're getting comments. I thought the Thor premise was odd and avoided reading the series. However, once I did, it was strange. Jane Foster's story was quite compelling, and I liked the story.
Yeah, everybody who's read it says it's good. I'm just never going to read it.
No, I don't like Jason Aaron working on corporate characters. I don't like any of his Marvel stories. I don't like his Wolverine. I don't like his Punisher. I don't. And
I don't like the way he
I don't like his
writes.
Avengers.
Yeah.
Would have the female Thor been a better, more light character if it was a new character, not Jane Foster, similar to what been?
Well,
I don't think it's the fact that it was Jane.
No.
It was what was going on in comics at the time, where they were doing too much change to a bunch of titles at once, and they were just like, you had this attitude that a lot of these characters were getting took out disrespectfully and brought in for reasons. I don't want to get into that. But I think if they had not called the character Thor #1, because that's the biggest problem. That's what turned a lot of people off right off the bat. That's a man's name, not his superhero title.
That was just a dumb thing. And for me, it's just create a new character who's a new character, but they can't do that because they want a male, female, teenager version of everybody.
They want the name recognition for marketing.
Yeah,
for me, if you have a weak foundation, it doesn't matter how good the story is. You're not going to win me over. You know what I mean?
But
right off the bat, it's a deck of cards.
They need a toddler version to sell underwear to kids. They need a teen version to sell backpacks. They need a teen male and female version to sell backpacks.
Look, when I was a kid, if I wanted a Thor backpack, I wanted a Thor backpack.
Right.
If you gave me not Thor backpack and tell me it was Thor, I would. That's not Thor. I don't want this. This is trash. And I'm 8 years old, and I'm going to my room to pout.
Yeah, somewhere out back, there's a Betty Ray Bill backpack that's been torn to shreds.
But nobody said that Betty Ray Bill was Thor. Betty Ray Bill was Betty Ray Bill. He just was a warrior that was so noble that he too, to everyone's surprise, could pick up the hammer.
Yeah, and then
the problem was when they decided that the architect from Brooklyn could pick up the hammer.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Thunderstruck. I was about to bring him up. He posed as Thor. He even wore a mask and became his own character. So you had Thor Light. Then you had that future Thor who took the name Thor because it's like calling yourself King Arthur. You picked up Excalibur.
That's a really good example. There was a King Arthur movie that came out a few years ago where he's a Roman warlord, and I thought this would have been a really good movie if they just removed the name King Arthur and any Arthurian connotations it had and just made it its own thing.
There's one reason they did that, because the Arthurian legend is supposed to be based on what's going on in England in the 5th century, but the Arthurian mythos is written as if it's Normans versus Saxons. So in the 5th century, that's when the Romans.
I understand the historical versus the origins of the myth, but I'm just saying, as a movie, this would have worked so much better if they just named it something besides King Arthur and got rid of any Arthurian connotations and left it its own thing.
It would have been pretty generic.
Yeah. It was already generic to begin with. Yeah. There has only been one good King Arthur movie, period. And that's Excalibur.
Okay.
Every other King Arthur movie is not that good.
That was the shiniest King Arthur movie. I wouldn't necessarily call it good. It was okay. It's
what I'm saying. It's the best one, other than maybe Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
That movie. I mean, I saw it in the theater, and every time I watch that movie, I feel like I need to take a bath because I feel like I'm in the filth of the 5th century there, right in the middle of it. I'm like, well done. I am in that world right now. I mean, I really want some food I want some hand sanitizer.
And he said Jane Foster was not as bad as Riri Williams. I think the comic just was better. I haven't read either of them, but everybody praises the Jane Foster Thor, and nobody praises Riri Williams Iron Man. That I hear. So I think that's all that is.
I don't know Riri Williams from Remo Williams.
Yeah.
Riri Williams was when the most readers finally figured out that Bendis is a one-trick pony.
That was
I don't think he has any tricks.
Yeah.
I think he's a no-trick pony.
But the thing about Jane Foster and that Thor and stuff, it's the thing where again, and I'm not even saying this to like pander or anything like that. If you like it, that's cool. It sounds like, you followed it, you invested the time in it, you got into the character. But to me, it's like I was trying to say, it's like a house of cards. The very foundation of what they started out with, this doesn't let me get invested.
It really has nothing to do with the quality of the book, because I've never read it. It has to do with, I think it's a dumb idea, so I'm not going to read it. Yeah. And like I said, the problem is there are so many things now that I'm avoiding that it's like, what is that? I'm in this state of can't read that one, can't read that one, can't read that one, can't read that one, because I'm avoiding all these.
We shouldn't even call it avoiding, because the problem here is that all the marketing is focused on the stuff that we're not interested in.
Yeah. No, I'm actively avoiding it. That's what I realized when I saw this and all I saw was this little Phoenix thing, and I said, "Oh, I'm not buying that one. The Phoenix is in it." I'm actively avoiding Phoenix stories. That's what I'm saying. That's what it is. I'm actively avoiding Miles Morales stories. I'm actively avoiding Lady Thor stories.
Yeah, and I'm getting more and more cemented in this because I'll take a chance. And I'm getting a little tired of being a little bit disappointed. Some of that may be taste. But let's go back to like DC Metal. What they said, you had Stranger Things being a huge hit. So Scott Snyder has said that we have the DC multiverse. But the way I read it, we had the thing from Stranger Things where they got that other dimension, the upside down. And it's all based on Batman. They have come up with a way to turn every superhero into Batman. It's actually
There's like 3 death metal things in here that I was like, who is reading? And they all have incredibly long, convoluted names. Hold on, we've got Dark Knight's Death Metal, The Last 52, War of the Multiverses, #1. That's its name. Dark Knight's : Death Metal, M-, The Last 52, War of the Multiverses. What kind of crazy name is that?
Hey, just wait till they come out with Dark Knight hair metal.
That's the worst name that's the worst trademark use I've seen since the Japanese market subcompacts.
I mean, if you like Batman, this is your thing because everybody's a Batman. I backed up during the lunch break trying to like give some of this kind of, stuff kind of a chance, see what's going on out there with the kids. You know what I'm saying? And they're saying that every crisis, every crossover that's happened in DC was some super villain lady from before time or something. And every crisis was just a crack in the source wall. She was influencing things where we kept having a crisis after a crisis after a crisis until she busted out of the source wall. I'm like, have you read the freaking New Gods? I'm like, this is ridiculous, man. They're recycling again. They're recycling everything that was there and just making it all convoluted and stuff. It's not story. I'm like, oh, this is sad. It's so sad.
By the way, I'm not done. The next one is titled Dark Knight's Death Metal, The Last Stories of the DC Universe.
What?
And there's finally one more. Dark Knight's Death Metal, The Secret Origin #1. That's the shortest of our titles here.
I gotta laugh at this.
How many subgenres of metal are they going to go through to come up with these titles? I mean, the next one's going to be the new wave of Gotham heavy metal.
They have now made the Battle of the Planets book. Sound like
there's your Phoenix. There's your Phoenix right there.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's where I was going, Scott. I was waiting to get till I got to. Yeah, there it is. I was waiting to get to that cover, man.
There's your Phoenix Force.
There's my Phoenix now. That's.
And here I want to point out, there's another thing in here. I guess there's this comic, The Expanse, based on the Netflix TV show or something. But Boom Studios is so Hollywood that this cracked me up. Their writers and artists have professional headshots with the Boom Studios logo down at the bottom of them. Down here it says Boom Studios logo with the person. I'm like, these are professional Hollywood headshots they got going there. I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen professional Hollywood headshots of, John Byrne or anybody. It's like, wow, they're really trying to make movies, Boom Studio. Right. If even their writers and artists have professional Hollywood headshots.
I'm trying to think when I saw pictures of these guys and stuff like that, and they were pretty goofy, or somebody did a cartoon of them. I got a phone call, dude. I knew this was coming. Be right back.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
And it looks like they're reviving Batman Black and White, which was the book that DC's longtime art director Mark Chiarello used to edit. That's why it was so gorgeous all the time.
Yeah,
now I wonder who's
editing
it.
He was really good at what he did.
Yeah. They fired him, I think. Did they fire him this round or last round?
No, it was before. It was a couple years ago, actually.
Yeah.
Actually, my favorite Batman story outside of the animated series was actually done in black and white. It was a story called Heroes, and Archie Goodwin wrote it, and Gary Gianni drew it. And it was set in the 30s, and it was great.
I don't know. There's so much Lumberjanes. I've never read Lumberjanes.
Me neither.
And I've never heard it mentioned after that creator left. I can't even remember her name. There was someone who created Lumberjanes, and it was a surprise hit, but I don't think she owned it.
You could do a marketing concept for that book and just say the book is okay. I'm a Lumberjane and I'm okay.
It looks like they're reprinting Stan Lee's Just Imagine. Is there any demand?
No, there is not.
Did anybody like that? The first two?
No. Nobody liked that. And I have all of them.
Yeah.
Let's ask an octogenarian to reimagine our characters, and then he will have his agent actually do the writing.
Yeah. Or he'll have his artist do the writing.
Will he claim you created them all 2 years later? Did I say that a lot?
No. This one was specifically work for hire. It's in the contract.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Will he get his script back?
He doesn't get a piece of that. I don't even know who these guys are supposed to be. Action. He doesn't get a piece of that Stan Lee Robin, Stan Lee Shazam, Stan Lee Catwoman, or Stan Lee Sandman.
I don't remember half of those.
And you have?
I know I've read them. Yeah. Should I go get him?
Is anyone a fan of this George Perez Wonder Woman?
I was reading a little bit of Wonder Woman way back then, but not a whole lot.
I was never into solo Wonder Woman.
Yeah, there's some people who they like that, but it's like nobody's favorite comic. So I was just wondering.
It's funny. There's a lot of stuff that's good that really doesn't come up on people's quote unquote favorite lists.
Yeah. No.
Did I miss anything before I got here?
I don't know. We were talking about stuff. I can't remember what we were talking about.
I don't know. It's just been a really bad week for me.
Well, Scott, guess what?
What?
I'm sorry. I just came in and interrupted there. That's not the phone call I was expecting. A guy that works at the same company as me is watching the live stream, heard you talk about Roanoke, and looked up the directory at work for my freaking number to ask me if I'm going to Roanoke or not. And I know he's watching. I told him I was going to bust him on the show. I'm like, "Are you serious? Do you not see I'm busy?" I'm like,
wow.
Oh my God. He's been looking for my number since you said that. Oh my God. I haven't talked. Oh my. He works at a group home in a whole other town from my office. I haven't seen him in years.
But if you're stopping by Roanoke, look him up.
Oh no, he lives in a place called Homemaker. It's about an hour from here in the other direction.
He just likes Roanoke.
Oh my God, I'm expecting a call. That's what made it so funny, because when I was expecting to be who I was expecting, and all of a sudden he's like, "Hey Tim," I'm like,
who the hell are you?
PayPal really pissed me off this week.
What they
Well, first of all, I'll have to tell you about this new scam that was tried to pull on me that I hadn't heard of before. Where somebody contacted me through Instagram, and I had just sold some custom Magic the Gathering cards through Instagram. Mm-hmm. Everything went fine. The guy said, "Can you make me these cards?" I said I can make them. He PayPal'd me the money. I mailed them out to him. Everything was fine. Then, like a few days later, I get a guy who says, "Oh, do you sell your artwork? I want to buy this piece." And I'm like, "Okay." I gave him a price, not very much, not a ton of money. He's like, and I was like, and and it was like $75 plus shipping for this little landscape he wanted. And he was like, "Oh, okay, that's good. Do you accept PayPal?" I'm like, "Sure." I gave him my PayPal email address. I said, and give me, your shipping address. Actually, when I told him plus shipping, he sent me his address, I guess, so I could figure out what the shipping was, except there was no state or zip code on it. So he sent me like a street address in Minneapolis, no Minnesota or zip code. And that made me go, "What? That's strange."
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So I looked up on my own a random zip code in Minneapolis, Minnesota, to see what it would cost. And then I went back to him and said, "Here's the price." And he said, "Good, I'll do." That's when he said, "You take PayPal?" I'm like, "Sure." Gave him my PayPal email address. Next thing I know, my phone gets a text. Like, I'm not doing any of this on the phone. My phone number is not my cell phone number. I hardly ever even use the cell phone.
Right.
And it gets a text that says, "Here's PayPal security code, good for the next 10 minutes. I looked at that and went, "I don't know what that is. I think someone's trying to scam me." But I didn't connect it with the Instagram thing, which was on my iPad.
Right.
So I was like, well, screw that. So then all of a sudden my iPad started ringing. And I was like, "What's that noise?" And I looked over at my iPad, and it was ringing because he sent me a video invitation on iPad, except he hung up immediately. And he wrote in the the message section.
Right.
He said, "Oh, I rang your iPad just to get your attention because I sent you a PayPal security code because of the limitations I put on my PayPal account. It's only good for the next 10 minutes." And he sent me a picture of his screen with the code on it too. And I went,
"That is some BS there."
I was like, "That's not how PayPal works."
Right.
And I was like, I'm like, "Well, how did he get my number to text me?" So I immediately went to Google and looked up, and sure enough, it's a scam where they try to get you to confirm your cell phone so that they can try and break into your PayPal account somehow. So I didn't respond to him at all. I blocked him.
Right.
I immediately went to my PayPal account and changed my password, and even changed my phone number to another cell phone, a burner cell phone I have, just so it wouldn't even be linked with that. And then I think later on that night, I got a message from PayPal. So it's like that midnight that night saying, "Oh, someone tried to break into your account. Was this you?" And it gave me some weird location. I went, "No." They're like, "Change your password." So they walked me through. But that's not even how PayPal pissed me off. First of all, I was like, I was just kind of, I'm like, "Oh my God, the world is so full of scammers. This is incredible." I mean, and you're like, "Holy cow." Okay, so that's the setup for how PayPal pissed me off. That's not even the story how they pissed me off yet.
Here it comes.
So meanwhile, I had this from, once again, selling a Magic card on eBay. I sell these custom Magic card, altered art Magic cards on eBay, and this was like a month ago. All of a sudden, I got an email that said, "Oh, you have a dispute." And I thought you have and it was one of the eBay cards I sold that said you have a dispute. So I looked on eBay and there was no dispute listed. And I went, "Oh, is someone trying to scam me?" But they've got the actual. I know I sold that. So and I was just like, they figured out a way to try to scam me. So I ignored it.
Right.
Then I got a second notice, like 6 weeks later or 6 days later or something. and I noticed it didn't say eBay, it said PayPal. And I was like, I didn't even know there was such a thing as a PayPal dispute. So sure enough, I went on PayPal. I found the disputes section, and this guy said he got charged twice for a card. So I went back and I looked, and I was like, sure enough, he was charged twice. Now I didn't charge him. He just used buy it now on eBay. I can't charge him twice if I want to. So I was like, okay, and I noticed that when PayPal does his dispute, they automatically take the money out of your account and put it in escrow or whatever until the dispute is settled.
Right.
So I didn't even notice the money was gone like a couple weeks ago because it wasn't a lot. It was $15. So I was like, all right, and I did the little refund his money button. I said, refund his money and the dispute is finished. Okay. So then a week later, right after this scammer tried to get into my PayPal account, it says, PayPal sends me an email that says, since you settled the dispute, we're charging you $20. I was like, what? Since I took blame, since I took blame and gave him his money back, they were charging me $20. And I was just like, what the hell? Yeah. I couldn't charge him twice if I wanted to. Like you said, this is when you use PayPal or eBay, I'm not in charge of charging anyone. So I tried calling them. Can't get through. I tried emailing them. Finally, after like 3 days, I got through and they didn't give me my money back, but they gave me a $20 credit off my next purchase. And you should hear this condescending. I just have to, let me see if I have it here. Okay. They said, hello, Jared. I understand your concern and I agree. Usually we would not be able to credit back the chargeback fee, but due to the circumstances of the dispute, your long-standing account and lack of disputes that you've had opened against you, I issued that $20 back to you. The credit voucher is valid for 6 months from date of issue. You'll shortly receive an email confirmation with the details, and thank you. I'm like, understand your concern and agree with you. You're the ones who charged them twice. So it was just kind of like, there's like no admitting they're wrong, no actually giving me my money back. Yep. They gave me a $20 credit for when I buy something. And I was just like, I'm like, wow, with all the scammers out there, I don't need PayPal to be one of the scammers. But, corporate America they're like the biggest scammers of all with their fees. And
I've only ever used eBay to buy things. I've never used it to sell things, but I've heard from multiple people that it's really set up to, if the buyer has anything, he raises any kind of dispute, it's all basically weighted in the buyer's favor, and the seller's kind of left.
I have heard that too. I haven't run into that too much, but like this is something it's like I can't even charge anyone twice. There's no mechanism for me to charge someone twice.
Right.
So for them to, and they were like, even in the email where they said, "Oh, we took $20 from you because you didn't give," and they were like, "We know this is probably unexpected to you, but," and I was just like, "Really? I just dodged a scammer, and now you're scamming me." But it was just like, I was so depressed after that. I'm glad they gave me the $20 credit eventually, but I was just like, and if I didn't, how many people don't say, give me what's going on, give me my money back? How many people just go, it's only $20, it's not worth it? Because it's on some level, it's not worth it. So it was just like, that just like pissed me off. That just pissed me off so much when I saw that. I was just like, filth flarn.
I can understand that.
It's like, you have a chargeback of $20. Why? That's just crazy. But that's the way the world is. Tim's just sitting back and smiling, going, let him go off.
I've got a story or two, but I've only sold one thing on eBay since this COVID stuff started, and I'm convinced people have nothing better to do than to figure out how to get your money now. And they're more desperate. They're more desperate. So yeah, I'll buy off eBay, but I've already had like one little thing like that. I've been getting a lot of alerts saying check all my passwords on all my social media.
Yeah.
And I'm not touching anything right now. I'm keeping an eye on it, but I'm not doing it.
Certainly don't click on any links in your email to change passwords or anything like that. Gorgon, I was just asking if anybody was a fan of the Perez Wonder Woman.
I got to tell Perez in 2013 that nobody's ever topped his Wonder Woman. And he seemed, he's nice. He was appreciative, but for some reason I kind of got the idea he didn't want to comment on Wonder Woman. And I've always wondered what that was about.
I think that's damning with faint praise.
I don't know.
Only because how much good Wonder Woman has there been?
Perez's run, that one, yeah. And seriously, to be honest with you, it was really the first, in my opinion, the first about 2 years of that run is like classic. I know.
I always point out that there are no good runs of Wonder Woman. As much of a cultural impact as she's had, there aren't many good Wonder Woman comics.
It's what she stands for. It's everything that she's about more than her stories.
Right.
No matter who you get around it. But what Perez did is that he just took everything that was attached to Wonder Woman and just kind of like put it all together in a very nice, pretty form. We got the mythology stuff, a little bit of the patriotism in there, all the
come to think of it, she might be the only character where her golden age stories are among her best.
Yeah. I've got very few of those. I've only read probably a handful. I would seriously say I probably read, being generous, 20 golden age stories of Wonder Woman, and they moved along. You know what I mean? Like it was. I've
run a couple of archives worth,
but she had some villain. Yeah.
What's the name of the artist on them again? Who never gets mentioned?
Moulton. Oh, I don't know the artist.
Moulton was the writer.
Everybody, let me see if everybody knows the writer. No one knows Peter. Peter. Let me see if I have a Wonder Woman.
The Jimenez runs are the ones that I've got the first 1 or 2 issues that he did, and I didn't stick around. Well, no, that's not fair. He did a story that was I think set in Gotham or something. I'm gonna have to look it up. But my problem with Phil Jimenez is that he I don't know. Phil Jimenez just does not click with me, but I heard that was a fantastic run, and I know some of the books got hot for a while when he was on it. There was a Wonder Woman one shot where she was duty bound due to a Greek tradition to protect someone that Batman was after, and she and Batman went at it. And I heard that was a fantastic one shot. It's right on the tip of my tongue what it was. I think it's got the Greek term as a title, the term where you go to somebody and you use that term and they're duty bound to protect you. Playing around with
his last name was Peter, Harry G. Peter. I think he goes back. I think it's HB Peter. He usually signs, and he's a fantastic artist too. His stuff made Wonder Woman, but no one ever mentions him because he died young. I think he died like 5 years into Young Wonder Woman or something like that.
Oh man, that's wild. I just know that one of the first Wonder Woman stories I read, maybe it was in a reprint or something, but it creeped me out because it was a female villain who had a mustache. She had like a handlebar mustache, and that just really, facial hair on women really takes me out of a lot of things.
Bunny's got a mustache.
Yeah, some lady probably hit me on the cheek, and I felt the mustache.
I was wrong. He didn't die young. He died in 58 at age 78. I think he was old when he started drawing Wonder Woman is what it is.
That's wild. So, just think about the path that led him to drawing a comic book that late in life, because he had been in his 50s. Yeah. Being generous, we'll say he was in his 50s, early 60s.
Well, if he died at 78 and 58, that means in 48 he was 68. And in 38 he was 58. And Wonder Woman was. So he had to be 60.
He was born in 1880. Okay.
Yeah. So he had to be 60 when what year was Wonder Woman? 1940?
I want to say it was, I want to say it was dead on 40 because it goes Superman,
yeah, he would have been
Batman,
60.
Wonder Woman.
So he was 60 when he started drawing Wonder Woman.
That's
why he must have retired after 5 years or so, not died.
Maybe.
So now
like I said, yeah, now because he never gets mentioned.
I wonder if he somehow retired from another job and was like, I think I'll be an artist now. You know,
Well, you're assuming that's his first job. He may have done other comics before that.
This is all new to me. You know, I'm taking all this in right now. So yeah, I've got a story in my head.
Whenever you hear the history of comics and the history of this, he never gets mentioned. H.G. Peter. I mean, he's the guy who came up with Wonder Woman and all that wonderful stuff, and he never. It's always the writer who gets the mention.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a headline that's going to attract a viewer, and you discover that the writer of the book, was into everything that he was into. Well, yeah, obviously you're going to go, that angle instead. Yeah.
Who's Wolverton, Basil Wolverton. He never gets mentioned as much as I think he should. A lot of people don't know who Basil Wolverton is until they get an old plop issue and wonder who did the cover, or a free comic book day out of nowhere. He's had one or two of his things reprinted. That guy was like heavy metal before there was heavy metal, Yeah,
most of those guys from 48, 50, 52, they never made it into, they never became popular unless they were still there when the superheroes got back to being popular.
Yeah. See, I love those old school guys who all have like an Alex Raymond, Al Williamson, kind of style.
Influence.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
He was his most lasting work came when the 61-year-old artist brought William Moulton Marston's Amazon superheroine Wonder Woman to life in the pages of comic books, even though Peter went on to be uncredited in her creation in October 1940.
Here we go again.
Yeah, imagine that.
Oh no, it's Bob Kane and Bill Finger and it's happening again.
Right. Mm-hmm. Peter notably changed his Gibson technique to an Art Nouveau influenced cartooning style for the new series.
Gotcha.
But it barely mentions anything about his previous work. I mean, he drew newspaper illustrations, working with the San Francisco Chronicle. He met Adonica Fulton. They barely mentioned him.
Yeah, you may have just cracked the next conspiracy in comics.
Or created it, right?
You created it. There we go. It's going to be an Amazon Prime special one day.
His Wikipedia page barely has anything on it.
Well, yeah.
Well, if he was working in, especially newspaper illustration, you got to remember back then there's a hell of a lot of guys working in that field.
Yeah, but you also have to remember the top illustrators in those like early days were movie stars. The illustrators from like 1900 to like 1930 or
Charles Dana Gibson.
Yeah, he mentions their pen and ink influenced by Charles Dana Gibson. Who's the guy who did a Flag? Montgomery Flag. Oh yeah, all those guys, they were movie stars. Yeah. They made millions of dollars because their illustrations were like one of the main forms of entertainment in those days.
Absolutely.
There were no movies. There were no radio, no TV.
And even in news articles, you didn't have photographs for everything.
Right.
Guys, I hate to do this, but I got to wind it up.
All righty.
That time. So it was good to be back.
Yeah, good to talk to you.
So just to be clear, I had some really intense stuff going on at work, and I'm just taking a break till I get it done, till everything settles. And by the way, I didn't get to go see if the wheelchair really went through the glass door. I've heard it was a window now. So just saying.
I wanted to know. I would be most impressed if that was the guy's wheelchair and not someone else's. Like to get up out of your own wheelchair and throw it through the glass door, I would be most impressed by.
Say that for one of your comics or a story. You told have that. I wanted it to be that way. We're on the same page here, but no.
There's going to be a video documentary on Discovery Channel next year called Shard Week.
But I will say, back in the 90s when I worked at the group home, we had a guy in a wheelchair. And for 6 months, he was about 400 pounds. And I would be the one that'd have to get him in the shower and help him shower and all this stuff and get him out. I come into the night shift is still there one night. It's a guy I'm in the National Guard with and went to school with. And I told him, I'm like, look, I need a break. I'm dreaming about working and stuff. And I'm getting really tired of showering this guy for 6 months. He brought the client in. And he said, get up. The guy had been hit by a car back in the 70s. He just never did the physical therapy. He could walk if he wanted to. He just laughed and grinned and got up. And next thing I know,
people are messed up.
That's what I mean.
And then you wanted to put him in a state where he wouldn't be able to walk again.
I was in my 20s, man. I was, I was chill. I was chill about in the daytime. It was the nighttime I had my issues. But anyway. All right. But we'll do this again. And guys, make sure that you guys do subscribe and hit the bell on Jared's channel there for the nights that I can't make it. He'll be doing it over there, I guess. Is that right? Am I?
Yeah. Keep doing it over there.
Yeah. And
I'll finally get to add another number to it. Because I've been numbering them like Marvel numbers their miniseries now. Because it was, I think the last one you numbered was like 23 or 24. So I've been doing the 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, like how Marvel does their miniseries now.
I suggested we should call it the giant size Cavern of Chaos.
Oh, I see how it is. No, what are you saying, Tom?
That it's full of reprints.
And we got to get a guy named the Simply Incredible podcast on here. I've told him I get him on here. So it's time to fulfill that obligation. And other than that, we'll just keep reading some comics, I guess, man. So
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for all you popped in here, and I guess we'll be seeing you later. Be excellent to each other. Everybody want to say any last words?
Sayonara, Tokyo.
Arrivederci.
See you later.
See you later.